guys, welcome back to my channel today. So today's video is all about classes that I recommend that you take in college before you apply to medical school or to pharmacy school. Now I'm in pharmacy school, so that's the perspective that I'm coming from. But not all schools recommend you take, every science or every math. They'll give you a specific list of classes that you need to take just to be accepted. But there are so many more that can really help you out once you get in school. There's several classes that I wish I had taken in undergrad that I didn't take, and they would have helped me out a lot. So I'm going to give you a list of courses that I think would help you a lot in school. Of course, take what you need or don't take what you need. Just, do whatever you feel is right for you. But here's a list of classes that I wish someone had told me before I applied to pharmacy school, because a few of them would have really helped me out, especially in this first semester. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first class that I recommend you take is chemistry. Now, there are so many different chemistry classes that different colleges offer. If you major in chemistry, then of course you got your bases covered there. If you're not majoring in chemistry, you definitely want to take General Chemistry 1, General Chemistry 2, Organic Chemistry 1, Organic Chemistry 2 at the minimum. And I think for almost all of your schools, those are going to be required. Of course, whatever school you want to go to, make sure you look up the requirements to get in, because schools vary from what they require. So look those up. But those are like the minimum chemistry classes I would take. On top of that, you really should take a biochemistry class. So for my school, I don't believe biochemistry was required as a prereq, but I did take it because it was required for my major. But I'm taking a biochemistry class now in pharmacy school, and that undergrad class, even though I didn't do super well in it in undergrad, it just gave me that foundation. So now in pharmacy school, I have like a 95 in that class because I already learned a lot of it, and whatever I didn't learn, I kind of understand the background of it better because I did take it in undergrad, so it's helping me out a lot. So I recommend you take biochemistry for sure. That's a really great one to take. Still talking about chemistry, I would always take as many high chemistries as you can. So analytical chemistry would be a great one to take, as well as physical chemistry, just because in pharmacy school specifically, maybe not so much for medical school, but pharmacy school, you're really dealing with those drug interactions and the mechanisms of how those things work. And those chemistry classes just give you more of an overview of how chemistry works. So the more you know, the better you're going to do. So I really recommend as many chemistries as possible. Okay, on the biology side, so if you're majoring in biology, you got those bases covered. But if you're maybe a chemistry major or I don't know, you can do any major pretty much to get into these schools. So if you're a different major, then you really want to take some more of those biology courses that you wouldn't get if you were majoring in biology. Highly recommend anatomy. I only took the first semester of anatomy in undergrad, and I wish so bad that I took anatomy too, because right now in pharmacy school, my first semester, I have one anatomy and physiology course, and it's like 2 semesters squished into one. So we learned basically an entire system in like 2 days. So it can get really overwhelming if you don't have a background in it. So I felt like it was easier at the beginning of the semester because I had Anatomy 1. I took that in undergrad, but now we are in November, it's November 2nd. So I don't have that second semester anatomy background. I just have to study so much harder because I don't have that background. So definitely recommend anatomy and physiology 1 and 2. Or if your school separates it, take both. I would also take a microbiology course if your school offers it, because again, that's looking at the cellular level of how microbes and pathogens and things like that work. And as a pharmacy student and medical student, but definitely pharmacy, you're looking at how those drugs interact and how they stop those microbes from infecting our cells and things like that. And you will take a okay, I can't speak for every school, but for my school, we're going to take a microbiology course. But again, if you take it in undergrad, that's just going to set you up for success in the actual grad school course, because the grad school course goes so much faster and there's so much more depth. So if you don't have any background on it, you're just like, this is so much information, I cannot learn all this. So I really recommend taking a microbiology class as well, just to have that background, so that when you take it, it's not going to be as overwhelming. I would also recommend a cell biology class. I really wish I had taken cell biology, just because in pharmacy school, you're again talking about those drugs, those interactions, what's going on at the cellular level. Like my physiology class, anatomy and physiology, is like all about what's going on in the cell and how the different ions are reacting with different things. So I just wish I had a cell biology class in my background to help me out with some of that stuff, so I'm not learning everything completely fresh right now. It would just really help and really like back up your knowledge. So I would definitely take that too. Genetics, things like that. I never took genetics. Really wish I did. That would also help me in biochemistry as well. So those are the classes I recommend for the kind of the biology track. So again, if you're going to medical school, the more biology, the better. If you're going to pharmacy school, the more chemistry, the better. That's just my opinion. Okay, next is math. Depending on what school you're applying to, I don't think most pharmacy schools or medical schools require a ton of math, but just like chemistry and biology, the more you take, the better it is for you. I recommend a lot of algebra because so far in pharmacy school, and I haven't gotten super far yet, I'm still only in my first semester, but we use a lot of algebra. Pharmacy calculations is just algebra everywhere. You know, we use it in anatomy, we use it in pharmaceutics, so the more math you take, it's just easier. I changed my major like 7 times in college, but at one point I was a chemistry major before I switched my major to chemistry education because I ended up being a chemistry teacher. That's a whole other story. But I ended up taking up to Calc 3. So my math background is really solid, so I feel really good with a lot of this math. But you don't have to take that high of math because it's not going to be that complicated once you get up to the higher levels. But I would at least take up to Calc 1, which most schools require. Definitely, if you want to kind of just add some more math, I would take like maybe differential equations or just more like algebra based courses because that would really help you when you're in a lot of these calculation type classes. A different type of class that I recommend you take is a public speaking or communications type class. In undergrad, I took communications because it was a way to get around the public speaking requirement without having to do speeches, but I ended up being a high school teacher for 4 years, so I kind of ended up doing speeches on a daily basis. But I really recommend that you take a public speaking course, and that's just because when you get to a graduate level program, you're going to have presentations, you're going to be speaking to professors, you're going to be just at a higher level of education, and you want to be able to speak eloquently and not like fumble over your words like I just said like 10 times, but you know, you want to be presentable and be able to speak on a higher level. So I really recommend a public speaking course. A lot of people in my class are just really shy, you can tell, and aren't comfortable speaking publicly. And then here I come like a former teacher like, hey, but I'm very comfortable speaking in front of a group, but a lot of people aren't. So I really recommend you do that because it's going to look better to your professors if you can speak clearly and eloquently at this level of education. So that's something I really recommend. You don't have to. I don't know if it's required by a lot of schools. A lot of schools, you know, require that like communications type of class, but they don't all recommend public speaking. But I recommend doing some type of public speaking just to prepare yourself for that for the future. Okay, my last recommendation is if your school has any type of medical terminology courses or an intro to some kind of pharmacy something, and that's not pursuing like a degree in pharmacy, just some kind of a med terms course. Even if it's like online or something, I think that would be really beneficial. So for me, I don't have a pharmacy background. So I applied to pharmacy school as a high school chemistry teacher. So I couldn't work in a pharmacy. I didn't have the time. Like I wasn't a tech or anything. I didn't come from that kind of a background. So for me, I've had to really put a lot of work into studying the med terms, the top 300 drugs, because I don't know any of that. Where a lot of my classmates, they come from being pharmacy techs for 10 years or something like that, so they already know all that stuff. So if you're in college and you're looking to go to pharmacy school or medical school, because you definitely need to know the medical terminology in medical school as well, I recommend taking a med terms course if they offer it. So I don't even know if my college offered that. You might even be able to find something online or just find like a PDF of like a bunch of med terms or something like that, or find, you know, a top 300 drugs website and just learn them. I really recommend that before you go to pharmacy school or medical school, because again, it's going to help you either way. It's just going to be one of those things that makes your first year easier. The more you have like in your arsenal, the more knowledge you already have going in, the easier it's going to be. So I really recommend that. Definitely don't have to, but it's just going to make your first year a lot easier. And not just your first year, like it's gonna make your whole 4 years a lot easier because you're not trying to like kind of catch up on stuff that a lot of people already know. Okay guys, so those are the big basic classes that I really recommend that you take before applying to pharmacy school or medical school, but make sure before you do anything you go on those school websites and see what your requirements are, because you don't want to not get into a school because you didn't take the prereqs. That would be ridiculous. So make sure you do that. Again, these are just my recommendations, my suggestions. Don't take anything I say as that's what I have to do. Those are just my recommendations. If you have any recommendations, please leave those in the comments below. We can all kind of help each other get into pharmacy school or medical school. That would be really awesome. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or you can send me a message through any of my social media. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.